Hello and welcome back. Now we know that what our data looks like, and what we're going to do now is we're going to import the data into Power BI. So what we do is simply we open Power BI and just wait until it's open. So Power BI desktop here, and just wait a few seconds until it's initialized. Okay, here we go. And now we got this window. That's our screen at the beginning. And now we have two options. We can either click on, again, get data here, or you simply close this and then click on get data here, like there, under the home ribbon here, okay? In our case, we can simply click on here, so get data, and then we simply wait until the window appears. Here it is, and now we can define what our data source actually is. In our case, it's easy because it's an Excel file, so we can simply click on Excel here and click on Connect, and just wait until this window appears, which simply refers us to the specific folder where we can find our data. In our case, we got this one, the Power BI dataset. We click on it, click on Open, and then simply wait until the connection is done. Okay, here we go, and we got the navigator. Okay, now we got different kinds of tables here as well as sheets. Though the difference here is this little blue here, header here, which simply refers to a specific table. If you click on it, you get a preview like this, okay? So, for instance, if we go to our sales 2019, you can see that's what the data looks like, okay? It's exactly the same data as we have seen in the Excel file itself, this one, okay? All right. Now, what we want is we can either now refer to the specific table, or we can refer to the specific sheet. So if you can see that this table here and also the sheet is exactly the same data. And the simply reason for this is that we basically don't have any additional data. So there is no additional data, like for instance a comment here or anything like that. Okay, so for this reason, it actually makes no difference, in our case at least, if we load the table or refer to the table, or if we refer to a specific sheet. Okay, you can actually click on this and load either this one, or you can click on this and load this one. Of course, not both. But from my point of view and from my personal experience, if we have the option to use tables, then we should do this, okay? Because then we can at least be sure that we only load the data from the specific Excel sheet, which we really want to load into a data model, okay? So we can simply then select, for instance, our sales. These are the ones we need. We also want to have the product data, we want to have the location data, and we want to have also the customer data, like that, okay? These are the tables we need, as well as the salespeople data in here, okay? Now, before we click on load, because often people are simply seeing, okay, this is highlighted in yellow, right? So you click on load. But what we want to do is we want to, well, pre-process our data, okay? We want to do certain kinds of things, so basically we want to prepare our data. For instance, we do not want to have 3 kinds of sales table here. We want to have one big sales table for all the sales for the 3 different years, right? So instead of clicking on load, we click on edit. And just by the way, if you click on load, what will happen? Well, Power BI would actually then load the data, so all these tables, into the Power BI model itself, okay? And even if this happens, you still have the option then to go under here, up here, under the home ribbon. You can click on edit queries, and you also get in the query editor. But in our case, we do not want to preload it. We simply go to edit here directly, okay? So click on edit, and just wait until the editor opens, okay? Now a second window opens, okay, here it is, and it's called Power Query Editor in this case. And what you see is, you can see the different kinds of queries. So all the tables we selected up here on the left, you can simply click through them. You can see they look exactly what they should look like, okay? And on the right, you can see the query settings. So basically you can see the name. So if you want to rename, for instance, sales 2019, you can simply do it here, or you double click on it, okay? You can also do it this way and then simply rename it if you want to do that. In our case, the names are fine, okay? What you can also see is that here are all the applied steps. So this is a great thing in the query editor. Basically, each step is, is monitored, and you can see exactly what has been done. So if you only need to click on the step. Just be careful, don't click on the X, because then you delete the specific step, okay? But you can see if I click on source, this was the original data which was loaded. So basically we got the names here and we got tables, right? And the item, kind, and hidden. So this is what it looks like. Then what was happened is the navigation appeared, and this specific table, the sales table, now was loaded, okay? But you can see that here, for instance, we got ABC123, okay? So basically, the data type has not been specified yet. So what you can do is you can click on this and then specify it here, but Power BI automatically tries to guess what is the right data type. For instance, for the product ID here, this would be a string. Or for instance, for this one, the purchase date, it should be a date, right? And for the quantity, it should be a number. So the next step was that it changed the type. And if you click on change type, you can see that now, for instance, you got 1, 2, 3 here, which simply refers to a number, as well as this little calendar icon, which simply refers to a calendar. And here, for instance, ABC for these ones is simply referred to this is text, okay, or string values. Okay, so that happened automatically out of the box in Power BI. All right, so that's good. Now, what else do we want? Well, you can see what I mentioned before, we got 3 different sales tables, right? But what we want is we want to combine them. We want to combine them in one big table, okay? One big sales table. So in order to do this, what we first do is we do some kind of, well, let's say cleaning up here. So what I want is I'll right click in here and say I want to add a new group, okay? So you don't have to do it, but from my point of view, it's kind of, well, cleaning things and make it easier also for our colleagues when you work with them to simply see your data model, okay? So what I want to do is I click on new group. As you can see, I have the option to name this group. Let's say data model, okay? So I simply name it data model because this will be the tables from this one which we actually want to have in our model. And I simply can give a description. I want to do this. These are the relevant tables in our model, okay? You can write, of course, additional text, but that's fine for now. You click on OK, and you can see that now 2 folders have been appeared, okay? So basically I have nothing selected. If you click on this, you can see the data again. And what I want is basically I want to actually drag and drop, and that's an option I have, all the tables which I'm using in my model into this data model folder, okay? Again, it's not necessary, it's just cleaning up things. So what I can do already is I can simply click on product data and simply drag it to data model. I can do the same for the location data, drag it to data model. Also for the customer data, exactly the same, drag it here. And for the salespeople, also drag it in here, okay? So these tables will be used, that's fine. But now for our sales tables. What I don't want is, as I said before, I don't want to see 3 tables in my data set later on. I only want to have one big table. So what I can do is I can right click on a specific table. It doesn't matter which one. In this case, I'm simply using 2019. I right click on it, and now I have the option here to either create a duplicate or a reference. Now, what's the difference? Well, if I create a duplicate, then I simply duplicate the table, but if the original table, which is the sales table 2019, if this will change later on because the year 2019 has not been finished yet and there will be additional sales, then the duplicate table will not be updated. Instead, if I'm using a reference, then this reference table will also be updated if the original table is updated, okay? That's why we want to create a reference and not a duplicate. So click on reference in here, and you can see I got my new table here, which is now referring to this sales table 2019 here. Now what I want is I simply want to rename it, right? So I can either, again, double click on this, or I can go in here and simply also change it here. So this is my sales table, okay, like that. Press enter, and you can see that it's also renamed here. All right, so far so good. Now what I want is I want to simply append 2018 as well as 2017 sales on the bottom, okay? So basically put all these 3 tables together. So what I can do is under home, I have the option to either merge queries or append queries. In our case, what I want is I want to, well, combine them. So simply want to stack them. So this is the reason why I'm using append, okay? So what you can do is, if you can either click on this one, this here directly, or you can click on this little down arrow. And this is what we want to do, because if we do this, we have 2 options. Either append queries, which will happen if you click on here directly, or append queries as new. So I just want to show you that you have 2 options here. Now, if you append queries as new, what will happen? Well, actually works kind of similar to what we have done here. Basically, a new table gets created where you can then append different kinds of tables. But in our case, we also already have created a reference table, right, to the 2019 sales. So that's why we can click on append queries, not append as new, okay, because we already have a kind of new table, if you want, this reference table. So you click on append queries, and then this window appears, and you have 2 options. You can either append 2 tables or 3 or more tables. Now, if I only select append 2 tables, which is the default selection, I have the option from my sales table to append one other table, for instance, 2018 sales. But that's not what I want, right? Because I need 2018 sales as well as 2017 sales. For this reason, I simply click on 3 or more tables, and then you can see that the window changes, and now I have the option to use my sales table, which is the first table, and simply append more than just one table. And all you need to do is you simply click on 2018, you hold the control key, click on 2017, okay, and then click on add, okay? Simply click on add, and you can see that now 2018 as well as 2017 sales tables have been appended to this one, okay? So if that's all we need, and in our case that's it, we can simply click on OK and just wait until it's done, and you can see it's already done. Now we can simply check this by simply go to the purchase date under sales table, right? Sales table is selected, click on this little icon, and then what you can do is simply sort ascending. So if we do this, we can see that it starts from 2017, okay? So basically we can see that the 2017 table has been appended as well as the 2018 table, okay? Of course, you can also search for 2018 dates if you want, date filters, for instance, but in our case, simply believe me, now all the other 2 tables have been appended, and we got one big sales table for 2019, 2018, as well as 2017 sales, okay? So we have accomplished this goal, so far so good. Now, the next thing is that we would simply use the sales table and also drag it up here, okay, into a model, because these will be the tables which will be relevant for our additional coming up videos, okay? Now, one last thing we want to do is we want to actually, well, uncheck the load table function for these 3, okay, or the option, because all the data currently, so even these 3 sales tables, got loaded into the Power BI model. And this simply requires additional storage and makes our whole report slower. And that's not what we want, and that's not what we need, because we already have one sales table, so we do not need to load it twice, basically. So what you can do is you can right-click on a specific table, so right-click on it, and then you have 2 options here, either enable load or include in report refresh, okay? So I want to include it in report refresh because if these tables, the original tables, change, then of course the table should be updated because the sales table is referring to these tables, right? That's the reason, okay? But I do not need to enable the load because I do not want to see them within my model. So what I can do is I can simply deselect enable load. I can do it here, and you can see that now it's grayed out, okay? And I do the same for the next table. So right click on it and then say also disable the load, okay? And also again on the 17, click on it and also disable the load, okay? Like that. Now so far so good. And now I just want to give you, just that you know, you can see that it really is not able to select this table. If we would click on close and apply here, right? If we click on close and apply, then the data gets loaded into our model, and we can see our tables up here in the field, okay, as soon as they are loaded. Just wait a few seconds. Okay, and here we go. And you can see that now we got here our different kinds of tables, and you can see that we only got one sales table here, right? So there's no 2019, 2018, as well as 2017 tables here. So these tables have not been loaded, and that's why you can't see them here. And that's fine, because we do not want to select data from those, right? We only need one sales table, which is this one. So let me go back to Edit Queries. Okay. And we got the window back up here, right? Okay. So that's it actually for this video. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you understood everything. In case you got any questions, of course, feel free to ask them. And then, as always, thanks a lot for watching, and I hopefully see you in the next video. Until then, best guys.